L-O-V-E. Love is a solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. For the evolution and blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is a solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. For the evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Self-Love Show. I'm your solo host today, Trish Wright. And let's just twinkle our beloved co-host on light who's out for the day. Just send her some love and support there. And I am so excited about today's guest. Zuza Engler is one of my most favorite teachers on the whole planet. And wait until you get to fall in love with her, just like I am in love with her. Hi, Zuza. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
So today's show is all about the 7 secrets to a perfect relationship. These are some of the secrets discovered on the dance floor that easily translate into guidance for people in relationship in this so-called real life. They are rooted in simple, accessible, body-based practices that can gradually change the shape of your relating to yourself and to the world out there. Wouldn't you agree? Relationships can be a mess. Plus, whoever has taught us anything useful about them when we were in kindergarten? Sometimes we have to be reminded that they happen in the body and not only in the highly convoluted drama playing out in our heads. Sometimes what would help is opening the vision to what a relationship can be: a spiritual teacher, a growth agent, a reminder of our boundaries or our need for self-love. Yes, you too are in a relationship, even if you're technically single. Pick any important person in your life, a friend, a coworker, a parent, a child, or yourself, and see if these apply. Often we buy into the myth of uninterrupted happily ever after or bust, which has created a lot of unnecessary suffering. Thanks for nothing, Hollywood. Instead, maybe we could stop giving ourselves and each other a hard time and recognize what is the natural cycle of life, dance, and relationship. Connection, disconnection, connection, disconnection, rinse. And when we feel like we're not getting what we want, what would it be like to see the other as the big, mysterious life that they are, and not just the answer to my need? Oh, wait! And there's a bonus secret. Zuza has a special place in her heart for you if you understand that the other is not the source of your pain, nor the cure for it. And that's a tough one. So we must be forgiven, you and I, if we're not there yet. Zuza has taught conscious movement, somatics, and awareness practices to groups and individuals since 1993 in classes, workshops, and Body as a Living Presence year-long programs. During her lifelong kinesthetic investigation into consciousness, she is trained in Buddhist meditation, Gestalt psychotherapy, psycho-spiritual inquiry, and movement practices ranging from Tibetan yoga to expressive dance. And you can find Zuza Engler at zuzaengler.com. Zuza, you are...
Yay!
What I would love to start off with is something that you said in here, and it's often, and you know, I've shared this here in the show before, is my vehement frustration and anger with Disney. That this happily ever after thing was like fed to me as an infant, as a child, as a little being. And it not only taught me gender roles and all that other, like I needed to be saved and stuff, but it also taught me this really warped idea of love. And And what I love about you is that you're a realist in love. And because you understand that it's this cycle of connection, disconnection, connection, and disconnection. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your views on that, on relationship and what love truly means.
Well, I don't know that I can answer that big question, but I'm happy to be here this morning with you because this conversation actually is arising out of our relationship. You and I meeting and finding that we had common ground or common interest and a common interest in opening to each other. And I think that's, is that what love is? Some people say love is space to be and permission to express. If I can give you space to be, if I can give me space to be and permission to express as is, what else do we need? Right? If it only was so simple. So this is secret number 7, but we'll start there. So yeah, connection happens, but it doesn't stick, and it shouldn't. We think it should. We think if there's disconnection or some kind of disruption in relationship, then it's not a good relationship, or it's time to end, or time to look for someone else. But really, it's just an opening into intimacy. And maybe if not with each other, then at least with myself. Yeah, because some of us are connection freaks. Some of us are freaks of solitude. But really what's true in the human life anyway, the human way of being on the planet, is that everything is discontinuous. It's like day and night, in breath, out breath, contact in. You could feel it with the breath, right? Contact in, the breath, air enters in. I get a moment of connection on the inside. The breath out is coming out into the world. You could say touching the world with my breath. And so it goes. Never stays one thing or the other. And all those Disney movies where, boy meets girl, right? In Disney, that's how it is, boy and girl. And all kinds of things happens, adventures and obstacles and all that. And then at the end, there is the wedding. Well, the wedding is the beginning. It's not the end. It's not like everything's from now on is la la land. I know that in my marriage, it was not true. It took, the marriage was, the wedding was like a beginning of a really spiral and circuitous journey into knowing myself and opening to my partner, and moving away and coming together. Oh God, if we could all get over the myth of what connection looks like and just open to what's actually present in the moment. That's the dance. That's the teaching of the dance. These 7 secrets arose from our teaching. Scott and I were doing a residency in Maui a while back for 8 weeks, and so for the first week was orientation, and then we taught the 7 secrets through the dance as they arise in the practice. So the dance is a really beautiful example of how moment by moment everything changes. If we could dance through life, we wouldn't suffer so much.
For me, in my journey of love, I had this idea that it was a feeling, that it was this and now that I've dove into what the feeling that I thought it was supposed to be was obsession and limerence, which is based in this idea of being in love or being attached to the feelings of the excitement and the arousal and the heightened states of arousal,
Mm.
projecting a story of the person. And so it's actually like I wasn't in love with that person. I wasn't
Oh, never.
I was infatuated with a fantasy that I created inside of me. And it took me multiple tragic relationships and seeing my codependency and abusive relationships, mutually abusive relationships, to actually be like, oh my gosh, that isn't love. Like, love, and for me now, looks like the radical acceptance of what is. And like, in the moment, can I just be in this moment, in all of my comfort or discomfort or judgments or whatever, and choose
Mm.
to find compassion here? And it's expanded my understanding of my own self and my understanding of how people move in the world. And stepping into your practice after I got out of a tragically abusive relationship, that was the first class I ever took with you, and I was so disconnected with my body, with the world, and your work helped me understand that. And the people on the show have heard me say this before, is who, like, I came up with the question to ask myself, who's feeling the feelings? Who's feeling the disconnect? I used to say, you're disconnected. This is a total connection. And I was like, who's feeling the feelings? Well, I'm feeling the feelings. I'm the one feeling the disconnect. So guess who's disconnected? Oh no. And so it occurred to me in those moments to come back to my body with the practices that you've taught me, the embodiment practices, the breath, the being with the dramatic parts of myself, and not to shame them or blame them, but to really and to be radically accepting here. Like, hey, can I be with my messy, wild, pattern programmed being? Can I love me here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest question in love. Can I love me here? And it takes a lot of inner work. Actually, relationship is such an inside job.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Byron Katie who said it takes one person to have a great relationship. I'm not sure that that's precisely true. And it's somewhat true. Like, I really have to be willing. So maybe love is not a feeling, it's a willing. It's being willing to show up and to really own my experience. The projection, when I point the finger, look where 3 fingers are pointing. oh my God, so many times with my husband. It's like, you. It's like, no, I'm doing exactly what I'm accusing you of. But it takes a lot of courage to actually show up for this work on the inside, because it's so unpopular. I want to. Often the emptiness inside is what drives us into relationship, like looking for connection. And I want to not be here with me, not be with what is mine, really, to be with. Just give it to you. You take this and unpack it, because I don't want this. I don't want the need. I don't want to feel the need. I don't want to feel this empty place inside me. I don't want to feel this fear. Do something. Like, I have a problem. What are you going to do about it? That's how we often come into relationship. I have a problem. What are you going to do about it? But
Exactly.
it takes a lot of, and also, it's humiliating, really, this taking the projection back, noticing how I do all the things I've been accusing you of. It's like, wow, like falling on my face over and over.
So true.
Yeah. because it's so true for so many of us. We have not had great modeling for a relationship. When I think of my parents, not so much. My dad was very stoic and kind of, he could freeze me or my mom out like in a second. So like it's really not available. So my mom like, who's feeling the feeling? Who's feeling the feeling? She would get hysterical because someone had to do it, right? It's kind of like we divide the roles in relationship. And, that didn't work very well. And I was bouncing from one to the other extreme.
Makes sense. It totally
So
makes sense.
in the dance, in the embodiment practice, it's such an incredible an easy place to keep coming back to myself, where it's safe. I'm not maybe triggered out of my brain yet, or at that moment I'm not. And I'm training how to pay attention to the sensations in my body, who's feeling the feelings, how to come back to breath, how to remember that I have ground under my feet, that you are not my ground. No, so many behaviors and disasters in relationship happen because of what we remember from the past in our early years, right? So my mom was my ground. Where's my ground? Well, I'm not that baby anymore, right? I have my own ground. We share ground, but I can find my own feet and my own relationship to gravity. These like breath and gravity, they seem so simple, but they have saved my ass so many times in crazy shit is going on. We're both escalating, and my husband and I would do that still. And then I'm like, oh my God, where are my feet? Where's my back? Oh, there's a big world around here. Okay. I cannot snap out of the trance, but it's because I do have some practice in this return to the body. So I hope whoever's listening, you do that right now. You can even like find your skin, squeeze your thighs, squeeze your arms, juicy, right? Because it's so relevant to all of us, single, double, poly, parents, children, everybody. God, relationship, man. So where am I? Where am I in space? Like literally, where am I in the room? Like how old am I today? I'm 60, but sometimes I believe fully that I'm 4 years old and they owe me.
Oh, I want to share something with you. You teach me so much. Again, if you didn't hear the beginning of the show, I just want to tell you how much I love Zuza so much. And things that you've taught me is really to name what's alive. Like you've given me like impeccable permission to do these things. So I want to share something with you that I haven't shared really with anybody. Is that I'm recently stepping into a relationship with a person, like a monogamous relationship, and I'm really excited about it. And I know. Okay. But what I was sharing is we've had these discussions about what it would feel like to be in love with someone, and I was like, oh, I'm planning to hate you at some points. Like, I mean, totally despise you. And I'm going to plan on totally just being like smitten and overwhelmed, like obsessed with you. I also plan on doing that with myself. Like, this is how life is. I'm just choosing to walk this path with you because I know that any judgment or any outward expression is also something that I hold against myself. And the look on his face was like, huh, wow. And I was like, I'm here for it. I'm here to walk the walky crazy, like I'm here to do the thing, like hiking is hard and then your toe hurts and you got to stop and clip your toenail. You twist your ankle, like that's all part of the thing. Like I'm here for it. I'm here to radically love. And so this morning, I wanted to come back to the body is I was getting ready and I turned on this 80s mix that I've been kind of like digging lately, and I turned into like an 8-year-old girl. And I was like, and he walked in on me and I was like, like I totally got caught in my 8-year-old. And I looked at him and was like, where's your 8-year-old girl? And we ended up just playing an 8-year-old girlism for a moment and just like,
Was his 8-year-old girl?
yeah.
That's great. Yeah, permission to express.
And it was fun to be there, to connect from the place that we're not allowed to, or we've never given ourselves permission, or we've never even realized that was a place that we could find connection and enjoyment. I don't know if he's ever thought about being an 8-year-old girl. And I think about being an 8-year-old boy all the time, like what that would have been like, riding bikes and, doing like parkour stuff. I think about all that stuff. And I allow those
shooting bow and arrow, no?
Yeah. I'm an eternal player. Like I love to play. And it's one of those things that you've shared in your practice. Maybe you've given that to me directly, or maybe it's been like this subtle permission. But it really is like, be with that, wherever that is. Be with what is that, and then name it and give it a voice, or give it a sound, or give it an expression to be witnessed and seen and loved. I've been an amoeba in your classroom a zillion times.
Well, yes, you're also a warrior for love, Trish. You're a warrior for love. It's so beautiful to see, because many of us are cowards, we just want to kind of glide by and without rocking the boat too much. And love is not that. Love is not always sweet and easy. It's kind of like a wrestle match, but mostly with myself, like you said, and with a lot of self-love. I love that you have a show, for self-love, because that's where it starts. And in my experience, it's really it's the only thing that's worked for me. I've done inner work and transformative work, my own work, for, I don't know, 35 years. And there's techniques, there's 7 steps to this and 7 steps to that. But really, the only thing that's ever worked for me was, this is so corny sounding, but allowing myself to be as is. That's the self-love that I'm talking about. I'm an 8-year-old girl at this moment, dancing wildly. Can I let myself be that, no matter who's watching? Look, dance like everyone's watching. Especially in an intimate partnership, because we do edit our dance very carefully. After a while, if I really care about you and you're really important to me, I will probably do some cosmetic surgery, some cutting off a little bit here, a little bit there, so that I make sure I don't lose you. And it takes constant presence and attention. It's like, am I doing that now? Am I really being fully expressed as me, or am I kind of angling into your window so that like that. Another place where dance is incredibly helpful, because it's relatively low risk when we move on the dance floor. And this is expressive dance. This is from the inside out. There's no steps to follow, right? But when I'm with my partner, can I let myself really go, no matter what they're doing? And maybe their dance is big and wild and expansive, but I'm in this quiet mood, and I want to just go in and do the delicate textures, explore the little movements. Can I stay in relationship with you while you're completely in orbit, and I'm just circling around my spine? can we still have a relationship when we're not matching? Can we? This is the question in relationship. Can we meet even when we don't match?
Yes.
And it's not like connection, disconnection. It's not like we always have to be together. That's not what I'm talking about. But when we are together, do we have to be the same? The same mood, the same level of energy, the same interest? Is there a way to allow myself the space to be, but also allow allow you to be who you are and express the way you do? Maybe you're an 8-year-old girl and I'm a 6-year-old woman. And I want to move like this. Yeah. So we have
I want to go back to the conversation around self-love a little bit. And so what I want to just make it clear is that you don't have to love yourself completely to be in partnership. I think that learning to love one's own idiosyncrasies and quirkiness is laying the grounds to be in a healthy relationship. And this is just speaking for myself. So there's a couple things here about self-love that I just want to bring in. I had a deep just loathing for some of the things that I had going on. Like I didn't fit into the social beauty standard, and I wasn't like the pretty meek girl, or I wasn't doing, I didn't have this grand job or amazing makeup skills or great clothes. Like I never, like, there were all these things that I understood that I couldn't be loved because of that. And I also thought that I couldn't be loved because of the traumas that I experienced. And so there was a lot of shame and guilt around me not being perfect. And I mean, society taught me a lot of things. My parents taught me a lot of things, and a lot of reflections taught me a lot of things. And I know that I'm not unique here. Like, this is why the show's here, is like, we're not unique. And so it's like finding the places where we can be okay, with ourselves, and are like, wow, that like really irritating thing that you do, that really irritating thing that I do, I can be okay with that. That's a habit that I've been running for 35 years. Can I be okay with it? Because that's the only way that it actually can shift. Not from a place of resentment or regret, or it doesn't shift there, it gets stuck there. That I actually have to be like, okay, I have these things. Like, I was abusive in this relationship, and I have to be able to hold that and reconcile that with myself. And that's where I was able to shift it. So the idea of self-love is finding the places where you can be with yourself and all of your you-ness, and to start cultivating the skills so that your relationships can be even more of like vastly expansive in the love. And that you have to be able to practice these things in relationship, because we're not the only people on this planet, right? Like I didn't wake up today and being like, oh, I'm the only person on this planet. I can easily love myself and move through the world. And I don't have to practice the skills of love because I'm not touching anybody else. That's not the world we live in. I have to practice the skills of love with Zuza, or with the cat who meowed from about 1 until 5 this morning. Like, whoa, like there's these moments where you're like, okay, what's the loving action I can move here? And it comes from a place of not self-flagellating, but of like inward reflection, self-awareness, to just be like, okay, I feel this way, and that's the way it is for me. I can be with that. I can be with Zuza in her ness. That's what I wanted to say about self-love. It's not the only end all be all is that it's the school grounds. It's the lessons and the learning so that I can show up with you in love,
Yes.
better love, or
Mhm.
that was a rant. Sorry.
Yeah, no, this is very interesting. Yeah, we talk about it like it's easy to, but for some of us, self-love is like a vastly alien continent we've never been to. So I wonder if there's maybe a moment we could take right now to remember
Mm.
what it feels to be loved, or at least to experience love for someone. So maybe you have someone from your past, an aunt or a neighbor or a sister who loved you, or a pet. Pets are so generous. Can you take a moment now as you're listening, anybody who's listening, to remember what is it like to be enveloped in love in a way where you don't have to doubt or fight for it or resist it. It's just here. For me, it was my grandpa. He was my personal Jesus Christ. He was big and didn't say much. He was just there. And when he took me in his big arms, I could just like think. And then also the way that we love that's simple, that we love a pet or the ocean, or maybe you have a person in your life who's really easy to love. Just to remind ourselves we actually have the capacity. We're already in love. We already live in love. We wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be here listening to Facebook or wherever you're listening to this if there hadn't been some a big wing of love that carried you here. But sometimes it's really hard to access. It's really hard to remember when I'm in a kind of contracted place, hating myself yet again. But we were talking about it earlier this week, as some of these behaviors, some of these things I do, or these habits, or these things that I just wish just would change, they were brilliant creative adaptations early on in our childhood, in a situation where I had to survive, right? I had to figure out some way to get through that impossible mess. And I did it, right? I found my ways. I found my ways to lock down, to push away, to create a bunch of static in my mind. It's one popular way to block love. But all of these were miraculous, brilliant ways to get out of trouble. And of course, now here we are. The expiration date is way in the past for these habits and behaviors and defenses, but they still automatically continue. So maybe when I'm hating myself for something like that, I can remember it's like, oh, this was my brilliance back then. This was my actual really smart little trick to live through something that was really difficult, and bring that little girl and that little person here. It's like, oh, you did so well. You did so well. Now I've got you. And we'll try something else. Because most of the work or transformation in relationship that happens, it's like dismantling the obstacles to love that we put in place because we had to. All these ways we have figured out to defend from love because it was dangerous in the past. Yeah. So a lot of compassion for this work. It's really a tender place for most of us. And especially those of us, I was one of them who said, I don't need anybody. Okay, I'm fine. So if you're like that, it's bullshit, right? I didn't for the longest time. I was like, now I'm self-sufficient, I'm self-reliant. I definitely never gonna get married. Looking at my parents' marriage, like, no way, I'm not going there. And I talked myself into believing that I can do life on my own, but like Trish just said, we're always in relationship already. There's no escaping the fact that someone made these clothes probably in a faraway country. This was made in Indonesia by someone I will never meet. I'm drinking water that someone purified for me somewhere at the facility, eating food that someone else grew. Or even if I grew it, I didn't grow it, God grew it, right? The sun and water and soil. So always in exchange with the world. So we're having lots of practice opportunities for this love thing.
You too are a warrior of love.
I am. Early on, my husband and I have agreed formally that we are each other's teacher. Oh my God, I had no idea what I was signing up for. Everything everything, like literally every button that I have available was pushed in this relationship. But that's how we grow. That's what you were saying. Like, we don't really grow in isolation. I mean, some of us kind of arrange our lives in a way that it's comfortable and we don't have to deal, and it's kind of cruising. But what kind of a life is that, right? Yeah. Any time I venture past my little comfort zone, there's action, and often there's difficulty, but so much joy and miraculous opening.
I'd love to hear a little bit about sort of the journey to the journey of what you thought love was, to what it is now, and to how you, like, what it's taught you, like how it's broken you open, or like I'd love to hear a little bit about you choosing the love that you're talking about, this love that's vast and complicated and also very, very simple in its purity. I'd love to hear more about what your teacher has taught you.
I think no, yes. I think the biggest teaching from my study of relationship, my practice of relationship, is opening the difference. I mean, it's so basic, so remedial sounding, but really getting through my thick skull that my partner is not like me. Because part of my big effort early on, I think, in this relationship with my husband was to try and make him like me, be like me, make him be like me, so we can agree and get into a group. And he's so different. First of all, he's a guy, and then he has all these other ways of being in the world and moving through the world, and like he's a lover of stillness. He's like slow and takes his time. I'm like, come on, let's go. But that's not his way. So I've learned to open so much more space for someone to be, like, literally. This is so good because that's what I'm teaching, right? I literally have learned to give him the space to be who he is. Oh my God. And permission, as if he needed my permission to express the way he expresses, not the way it would be convenient for me or the way I want him to or the way it would be easier. But just to appreciate that he's his own world, not just the answer to my desire or my need or yeah, somehow an extension of me, like my arm, who should do what I want, right? I move my arm, it moves the way I want to move it, but it's like, no, he's not an extension of me. It's his own mysterious person. And about myself, I am not as great as I thought. I am not as bad as I thought. This is a very profound teaching, actually. We're not as bad as we think. We're also not as great as we think. So there's like some kind of coming to ground, coming to earth with myself as is, like secondhand clothing, as is, no refunds, no alterations. This is more or less the shape of this life. And no matter how, of course, I have aspiration and I have practices and I've changed a lot over time, but the basic shape of me is still here with all the crazy and all the quirky and and that will never change.
Bring
more love
on your
for my
crazy.
partner. Yeah. Don't tell my husband you said that. But that's the thing. Like on the dance floor, this is so beautiful because in the dance, I can bring on my crazy without hurting anybody, right? I can really go for it. I can feel all my feelings. I can express and be a wild woman, and nobody has to suffer. It's karma free. So it's a good practice because often the part of the drama in relationship, right, is unresolved and energy from the past, like energies that are stuck and encapsulated in our bodies. We want to give it to our partner, but on the dance floor, I can really allow 90% of it to flow and go, and then whatever's left and needs to be addressed. So that's also another thing I learned about love, that is most of the time my partner's not the source of my pain, and he's not the cure for it. Often there's so much past being brought forward, past pain that gets projected on my partner, but it's really not him. It's back there, or I'm doing something on the inside that is not so helpful. And then to look for the cure, to go to my partner for the it's like, take this and do something with it. Doesn't always work. Doesn't ever work. I come home and I've learned so much to look first at what's happening, where the three fingers are pointing, and meet that place in myself that's upset or resentful or has a lot of unfelt rage or grief that has nothing to do with this situation, and to work with it in a padded room, and then come back to my partner.
Exactly.
A lot more space in love than there used to be. I was imagining that love would be like this Hollywood idea of happily forever after, like we get together and like love each other. Oh my God. Yes, there are moments. There are extended moments now of that.
It's a learning, it's a growing, it's an opportunity. And if Dawn was here, she would, I'm totally not going to say it the way she would say it, but she would say something like, that relationships are here to work through our spiritual curriculum. Like we get to choose our curriculum with another person. And I do wish she was here. She has so much deep conversation around this exact topic, and her,
Mhm.
God, I want to say 15-year relationship with her husband and their beautiful child, and just her journey around that.
Mhm.
That she also says, and this is one of her favorite sayings from her school, is that it's not the issue that's the issue, it's how you relate to the issue that's the issue. And so that it's this concept of bringing the past into the future and how we filter it through, like how the traumas that I've experienced as a child, or the lack of safety in my childhood, as well as this, like, things that partners did to me, or that I did to them, like, live in my reality as I'm relating. That I, even to myself, like, oh, this thing, this idea that's planted here is now lives with me. And and that's such an amazing practice of self-love, and the
Mhm.
practice of getting back to the body and realizing that there's so much support. Um,
Yes.
I love, go ahead.
Oh, just because it's not an idea that lives in us, actually. The past lives in us in the body, right? It lives in the cells, in the memory of, we call it implicit memory in the body. All those, the conditioning for relationship that's not so helpful, it's all in our tissue. And we get triggered in the body, right? The mind, of course, gets involved immediately. There's a lot of mental activity, but there is a bodily landscape of feeling triggered, which is a memory. Really, it is a memory state from past relationship, from the earliest past. So if I have the practice of knowing what's happening in my body, I can recognize these places, because the mind will convince me at any time, oh, this is so real, he's screwing up and he needs to fix it. uh, but but really, if I know myself a little bit, at least I can, this is like, oh, there is this familiar landscape happening. I'm starting to tighten in my chest. My breath stops here, right? There's some jittery feeling. So what is this? Well, it's like, when is the first time I felt it? Probably when I was maybe 2 or 3 years old. It can stop the snowball from building out of the relationship drama, because I come back to myself like, oh, wait, let me check here what's happening here, and maybe take a bigger breath, or step back for a moment, or just, shut up, stop talking, because I'm not going to say anything helpful. And the practice of pause, I mean, that's one of the pieces from the dance also that's so helpful in life. Just to take a moment before I say the next thing, just to take a breath and notice something that's actually happening in my body before I launch into tirade, or in addition to whatever is going on in my mind and whatever is going on between us. Can I feel my butt on the chair right now, my feet on the ground? You were going somewhere, yes, with it?
Oh, we're going places. And I know that, our viewers are here. I'm seeing movement, and what I'm loving about this conversation is how grounded in love it is. That
Mm.
it's really, it is really loving. It's embodied love. And that's why I was so excited to have you on for so long.
Mm.
Also very curious about these 7 secrets of a perfect relationship.
Oh, wow. I still have at least 7 minutes to go through that. But before we go there, could we take a minute just to take a pause right now? And maybe if you like to close your eyes, if you're listening or watching, and take another moment to remember the big love that holds us all here. Maybe lean back into your support if you have a chair or couch or wall or space, just to lean back a little bit into your own back and remind yourself of anyone or anything that's got your back right now. Anything that brought you here, any kind of support, anything of any kind of backup that's available for you that you can remember in your back. Like literally see if you can feel it, maybe like a big lap of the Buddha, a big lap of Mary, big lap of love, or a tree that you love, or a rock that you love. Imagine, bring it back behind you and see if you can soften into that. As if you and I were really held in this big lap of love, because we are, in ways that we know and in ways that we don't even notice. This is the first relationship, I think, that deserves our attention and repeated coming back to that sense of being supported by some big invisible force, a big invisible presence, even a memory of the past, a teacher or a grandparent or some place in nature. And that it's not all up to me here. It's not all up to me. I actually have backup. And then from there, how would I move? How would I speak? How would I make choices in my day? If I remembered that, it really just takes remembering. It takes a moment. In Buddhism, they call it a flash of bodhicitta, a flash of the awakened heart, a flash of the presence that's always here. And then we move on to our day-to-day activities, noble pursuits. And these 7 secrets we were going to talk about, we're going to go quickly. Yeah.
Zuza, you can take your time. If you have the time, you can
See?
That's me. Never has that happened for me ever before. Sorry. You can take your time. If you have the time, you can take it. If not, we can invite you back on.
I actually need to leave soon. But these are secrets for the rest of our lives, So I'll just name them here, and then we can practice for the rest of our days on the planet. Can you show the screen? There you go. 7 secrets to a perfect relationship. This is, of course, tongue-in-cheek, right? I'm sure there's other ways to look at it, but this is what we learned on the dance floor. So the first secret is we talked about it some, it's to spend time on my own before I even think of relating to anybody else. And like a lot of that, and I mean, in terms of the longer time horizon, a lot of time on my own, because I need the time to really work with what's here, right? To feel what's here, to know myself, to build that capacity for self-love before I launch myself on someone. And then when I do, how about that practice from movement? It's a movement practice of looking at space rather than the form. Right? So right now, if you're in a room filled with light, or outside, just take a look around. And there is one way to look at things as their form and, limited by their shape. Another thing is to look at a thing as surrounded by space, and actually look into the space between things and beyond things, to open my peripheral vision. That's secret number 2. To open my peripheral vision and to be able to see more than just this one thing that I'm focusing on, especially if I'm just like, completely obsessed with a need or some outcome that I'm going after. I'm like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. What if I can allow my partner a little more space than that? And in the dance, it's a really beautiful practice to move into empty space, forward, backward, sideways, soft eyes, right? Soft peripheral vision open. If you practice that a lot, your relationships will open. It takes a while. It takes practice, because we're very focally oriented in our gaze, usually. In our upbringing, the gadget world, the way we look at things. But what about if we open? Just notice what happens in your breath. I just felt like an expansion in myself. There's more of me available for a relationship. And then hopefully I allow you more space. And then secret number 3, they're also obvious in a way, right? I want to show up to listen. I want to show up to listen. Like, I actually want to know you. That's one of my learnings, big learnings in relationship. I'm not just here to tell you who I am and make sure you get me and you see me and you understand me and you know me. But I'm here to listen. Like, who are you? And in the dance, we do that too. Like, I allow you the space to express, like, what is your dance? What is your dance? And can I listen from a bigger place than just my ears? Like, this is not even about conversing, but opening my whole being to you. Listen from the heart. And of course, I would also add here, speak from the heart, right? Speak from the heart. That's maybe even harder. The vulnerability that it takes, the courage to actually express my deep truth. And then the next one is very paradoxical. Give yourself fully. Give yourself to this relationship and hold on to yourself at the same time. How is that possible? Like, for many of us, one is easy, the other not so much. Those of us who are like into connection, we can go for it and head first and get lost in there. Those of us who like our space, right? We know very well how to hold onto ourselves, but do we know how to do both at the same time? Can I completely surrender into this dance with you and hold on to my own expression, my own truth, my own heart, my own ground? Let's see, secret number 5. What is that? This is really kind of an inside job. This is a phrase that we practice. I worked with Zen Hospice Project in San Francisco many years ago. Welcome everything at the bedside. We were practicing that with working with the dying. Welcome everything, push away nothing. And this is not to say that you should stay in a relationship that's not right for you, or you're being hurt, or was just not appropriate to continue. But on the inside, right? This is more about my inner work. This is what Trish was talking about. Welcome everything, all those pieces that I like to hate. all those bits that irritate me and that I wish just could get rid of. Can I welcome it all without pushing anything away? It's a lifelong practice, and I'm not expecting myself or anybody to arrive, but to practice, right? That's why these are called practices, really, because over and over I will have to repeat that. Vow the willingness to open, to receive experience as is. And then the next secret, number 6, is in place of limitation. In a place of limitation, find possibility. Limitation is the middle name of our human condition, right? We live in a limited, finite body in limited time with limited circumstances, but there's, at the center of limitation, there is always a portal into possibility. And that's where creativity thrives, in relationship, right? Or in life, in art, in dance. Because we're limited, because we have certain constraints, we have to find ways to blossom right there from the center of the contraction, from the center of a tight place. What is the possibility here? What is the opening? What is the creative option, creative path I can find? And then the last piece that we talked about quite a bit earlier is relax with the cycle of connection and disconnection, contraction and expansion, closeness and distance in relationship, sweetness and bitterness sometimes. It's a cycle, it's a wave, it's a spiral. If we could all just relax 5% with that and not expect ourselves or each other to somehow deliver perfection at any given moment. So that's it for now. That's all the secrets I know for now. So much, Trish, for inviting me. And thank you for holding space for self-love. It is so needed and so foundational for everything.
Yes, it's the only way that I know how to do it. I struggled for a long time, and I want to help people for free to move through the things that they want to move through so that they can have happier, healthier, safer lives. It's a practice of making the world safe. This is my mission. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your practice, valuable life force and time. I'd like to thank again Sign Network for running us out on a bunch of different pages. I'd like to thank my business partner, Don Light, and Scott Katamas for being the muse for this show. And if you love this show, please like, subscribe, and share out to all your friends on YouTube or anywhere else that you are. And I'll send that in the chat. And remember to go check out Zuza Engler's website at Zuza Engler, Engler, ZUZAENGLER, just making sure. and again, I want to just say how much I love Zuza, and she is one of the most amazing teachers that I've ever found. I'm in a year-long program with you currently, and it's probably the best decision of my life. So thank you again for your time, and we'll see you all next week.